Senator Bellemare. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dear colleagues, this is the second time that I'm speaking on the duration of mandates for committees, or what we now call committee portability. It is a subject I care a lot about, so excuse me if sometimes that shows. I have decided to renew my opposition to the proposal originally made by the ISG to overturn the current rule that a senator is appointed to a committee for the duration of the session. Today, only 36 senators have experienced the old duopoly system that has existed in the Senate since 1867, and which ended with the new appointment process in 2016. Most of you, 56 of you, did not experience the old system. Many are new to the Senate and have not been exposed to the issues around Senate modernization. Some of you may not have asked yourselves why certain rules exist. It is dangerous to change them, and the majority thinks that everything that comes from the old system is necessarily bad. Some rules, like the one the majority report aims to circumvent, have existed here since Confederation and exist elsewhere in the world. So why did the old partisan Senate accept that a senator who changed affiliation could keep his or her seat for the duration of the session? This seems to make little sense in a Senate where party lines were predominant. The reason is simpler than it seems. For all the faults of the old system, the leaders of the partisan caucuses were nonetheless pragmatic and knew that it was wrong to ban a senator from formal committee membership simply because of a change of affiliation. This ban is in fact a direct attack on a senator's independence and privilege. Remember that we take our oath to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, not to a political party, a caucus, or a group of independent senators. If a senator believes that he or she can better fulfill his or her constitutional mandate by changing affiliations, that is his or her ultimate right. The group or caucus cannot take away their committee seat since the Senate itself has allocated the committee seats. The group or caucus has only an instrumental role in this operation.
Caucus doesn't own seats in committee. It helps to allocate them to senators.
According to the rules, the real power to decide on the composition of committees lies essentially with the Senate. It is the Senate that allocates committee seats, and it is the Senate that can remove a senator's seat. The proposal before us is an affront to the powers of the Senate, and adopting it would set a dangerous precedent. In effect, this proposal seeks to empower groups or caucuses at the expense of a senator's independence, or even the leaders of caucuses, and yet the group or caucus has no such power. This is completely contrary to the spirit of the modernization of the Senate that we have embarked upon.
That ensures portability of committee seats within a session is a rule that enables a senator to fully accomplish their constitutional duty in the Senate and in committees. This rule protects the independence of a senator. If adopted, the secessional proposition in front of us could lead to a potential breach of privilege. Also, the fact is that a group cannot keep a committee seat that it doesn't have. The group helps in the allocation of seats, but at the end of the day, it is the Senate that appoints members in committee, and it is the Senate that can change the composition of committee memberships for good.
The portability of committees protects the independence of senators and also ensures a fair distribution of tasks among all senators. Each senator can be given an equivalent task, or roughly. If this rule is circumvented, some senators may have their duties increased because they will need to take on the tasks of senators that have left, and others will see their tasks decreased. Groups that welcome other senators will have to cede places. So, in my experience, in order to perform his or her role properly, each senator cannot really sit on more than 2 medium-sized committees in the long run. So, if a senator who decides to change affiliation were to give up his or her committee seats, they would have to be filled by other members of the group. Some would have to sit on 3 or 4 committees, depending on the case. The group that welcomes a new member will have to give up some places. Some may end up with only 1 committee. Admittedly, this is not very fair or efficient or proportional. ISG leaders often say that the principle of proportionality is the most important principle and that it must be protected at all costs. But what does this principle really mean?
Let us discuss for a minute the principle of proportionality. This is indeed an important principle, but it is an operational principle which permits us to treat equally each senator. It is a tool to get the job of distribution of seats done. Portability of committee seats help to protect protection at all times. If a group loses member, its proportion within the Senate will diminish. It is common sense that its proportion of committee seats will diminish accordingly. A group cannot maintain the importance of the principle of proportionality at the beginning of a session, but then choose to disregard it when members decide to leave their group. The principle should always be applied in both ways. Les raisons données.
The reasons given by the ISG for adopting this proposal lack substance. In fact, the ISG may want to obtain an absolute majority in the Senate in order to impose its views. Who knows? Dear colleagues, do not be fooled by rhetoric without substance. And don't forget that in a less partisan and more independent Senate, the group serves the senator and not the other way around. The group is the facilitator of the senators. When the senator becomes a servant of the group or caucus, he or she loses her independence. Furthermore, the current rules protect the group or caucus when a senator changes affiliation. Rule 12-2.4 states that during a session, the selection committee may propose to the Senate changes to the composition of a committee. This rule allows the selection committee to propose to the Senate that a senator be removed from office. It is a protection for any group and caucus that feels aggrieved by the change in a senator's affiliation. And this rule works very well. I know from experience.
I became an independent senator at the beginning of the 42nd Parliament, when I realized that the opportunity to modernize the Senate was real. I wanted to participate fully. When I left the Conservative caucus, I retained my committee seats. However, the Conservative caucus wanted the seat back, the one I held on the Special Committee on Senate Modernization. They wanted their voice to be heard and their vote to count rather than mine. Can you imagine why? A motion was tabled at the Selection Committee to replace me with former Senator Tkachuk. A motion was tabled at the Selection Committee, which was then endorsed by the Senate, following debates during which former Senator Pratt enthusiastically defended me.
Existing rules enable a group or caucus to act if it feels significantly impacted by the change in affiliation of one of its members, while it respects at the same time the independence of an individual senator. It is well balanced, but a group must make their case first in front of the selection committee and then in the Senate. The rules respect the fact that the Senate is sovereign. La proposition
The ISG proposal is clearly a step backwards in the process of modernizing the Senate. Let me also say that it is detrimental to newly appointed senators. A new senator may feel overwhelmed when they first arrive in the Senate. He or she is not sure what to expect. There are many calls inviting them to join one group rather than another. There is a great deal of pressure on new senators to join the dominant group. Indeed, it's just a question of numbers. A new senator is likely to receive more calls from the largest group. If all new senators join the largest group, the Senate will quickly revert to the system in which an absolute majority dominates. That is majoritarianism. I do not believe in it. The modernization of the Senate aims to combat this very situation. And the rule that has existed since Confederation will not create chaos.
said in committee, and I quote, "The senator got the seat at the expense of a colleague. Taking the seat away from the group would be an affront to procedural fairness and an insult to colleagues who played by the group's rules." The group rules. This is false. It is consequential to the method chosen by the ISG to allocate seats. Let me explain. Being a senator since September 2012, I have had the chance to experience the process of committee membership selection many times, and with different groups. As explained last Thursday by Senator Hu in committee, the method of selection in the ISG works as follows. First, the group accepts a set of criteria for the committee seats allocation. So far, so good. Secondly, each senator sends their preferences to the leadership. That's common. Then the leadership allocates committee membership to each senator and negotiates individually with them individually when there is a problem. At first glance, this sounds great, and it sounds normal. But there is a problem with this method. It lacks transparency. It lacks transparency. Twice I have experienced a much more transparent process. Once with the first generation of the ISG, when late Senator Ellen McCoy was the leader, and recently with the PSG. In both cases, preferences of individual senators were known to everybody at one point or another of the process. And the truth is that senators don't have the same preferences. They don't all want to be in the same committee. In most of the cases, senators can get their first or second choice and second choice. And when the demand for some committee seat is higher than the supply of seats, transparency, common sense, and mutual respect help to solve exceptional cases that may happen 10% of the time at the most. If I may suggest, allocating seats with more transparency solves many problems. The argument that a senator is getting a seat at the expense of another colleague disappeared. It vanished. Senator, I invite you to vote against the second report, which circumvents a wise, equitable, pragmatic, and long-standing rule. Rule 12-2(3), I reiterate, is fundamental in preserving a senator's independence from a caucus or group. Do not let some leaders or report do indirectly with the rules that do not permit. I invite you to vote with your conscience. Thank you.
Senator McFedrin.